Welcome to 360 Sports. Today we got a great day of free agency football. I'm Carter Ostermiller with Jenna, Jake, and Patrick. How are you guys doing?
Doing well.
Awesome.
I love free agency.
I mean, I'm absolutely obsessed with free agency.
It might be better than the regular season. There's just so much. There's so much going on in like a span of 1 week.
The start of a new scene, getting ready for the draft.
I know. I mean, a lot going on. We got a lot to dive into. A lot of players moving around, shifting around. Some notable names. A couple Eagles fans right here.
Yeah.
Are you excited with that Saquon Barkley move?
I'll get to it in a little bit. I'm not the biggest fan.
Not the biggest fan.
I'm in the minority here.
So in the minority.
Oh, we love it.
We love it.
We're bringing him back home, back to PA, baby.
All right, so let's hop right in to the free agent report card. So what would you give these picks? So we'll actually start off with Saquon Barkley because, we got a lot of Eagles fans.
I give it a B minus. I don't hate it. I'd love to have Saquon Barkley on my team. I think any team in the NFL would. I just don't think it was our need at that moment. I understand we just got rid of DeAndre Swift, but I think the running back market as it is now, we could have found talent, later picks in the drafts, later on in free agency. We could have traded for somebody later. I don't think that's where we should have pushed all our chips into. I don't think that's something that we needed. I think we need linebacker help. I think we need secondary help. We just lost Kevin Byard. I think that's where we should have put our process into. I think Xavier McKinney was probably the smartest move where we really should have went to. And now we lost him to the Packers. And now we just put $36 million into Saquon. So I'm just not the biggest fan in the world. I don't hate it. I'm going to be excited every single time he touches the field because he's electric and he's a highlight. And I go to Penn State and he went to Penn State, and that's why I love it. But
see, that's a fair grading there, Pat, but I'm going to bump it up just a little bit. I think that the Eagles, it was a great move for them. You help upgrade at Saquon Barkley. Of course, DeAndre Swift was great for them last year. Saquon Barkley's an upgrade. And, the money, it is a little bit much for running back. Obviously, the running back market's diminished over the last couple seasons. But you have those top-tier elite guys, the Christian McCaffreys, the Derrick Henrys, and Saquon Barkley to an extent. He's been able to hold on to his durability, and he's done a great job with that. So for me, putting him behind one of the greatest run-blocking offensive lines in the game right now, I think it's a great move for the Eagles. So I'm going to go with the B, just a little bit better than your grade, but I think it's a solid move for the Eagles.
All right, I'm giving it an 8 out of 10 if he's able to stay healthy. His history being injury prone, I know that hasn't been a problem that recently, but still, it's in his past. He's getting tons of money. I think it's a little too much money, but also running backs don't last long. So I think he'll do better than ever in Philly behind a strong O-line. Unlike New York, we all know how they are. I just hope that the Eagles decide to run the ball and that Jalen Hurts doesn't take all of his possible red zone touchdowns. I think the Eagles are going to have to be smart about how they use him.
Amen to that.
The tush push, I mean, it might not be the same
shove.
without...
it's going to be it's great for it.
Without Jason Kelce. All right, so moving on from Saquon, I think it's a solid deal, but I feel like you guys covered all that. Brian Burns to the Giants. That was a huge trade, huge move.
Oh, yeah.
And it was kind of a missed opportunity for the Panthers. They could have got, I would say, a lot more, in the past.
A year ago.
They had to settle for their second and the fifth. For the Giants, it feels like a great move. What do you guys think?
For me, I'm going to say, as an Eagles fan, I hate this, but I'm actually going to give this an A+. I think the Giants nailed this pick. It's a great move. Obviously, the Giants, they had a down season, in terms of the main part of this, obviously, Saquon Barkley leaving, the main part of their offense. So why not improve on the other side of the ball and defense? Brian Burns, like you touched on, Carter, of course, they could have got a lot more from the Rams earlier, 2 first-round picks. So this is a great move for the Giants. The money, it's a lot, but it's in a position of need, and it's definitely a huge win for the Giants.
Yeah, absolutely. I didn't give my individual grade to the Brian Burns pick. I think Brian Burns is an excellent player. I think a year ago you probably would have gotten a whole lot more for the kind of player that Brian Burns is. I still think he is that level of player. I just don't think he had the best season on a Panthers team that just was absolutely abhorrent this year. The defense wasn't the worst.
The defense was good.
No, the defense, I wouldn't say good, but they weren't the worst ever. They have talent. They had talent on the team. But Joe Schoen is an absolute fraud. He's a terrible
I'm not a fan
GM.
of him either. I love that you said that. All
Terrible.
my friends are Giants fans at home.
And this is why. The reason why I gave this a C.
Really? A
C?
C? Wow.
Is because their offense...
So we're on total ends of the spectrum.
Their offense is completely lackluster. They have no talent. They have nothing on that offensive side of the ball. They have a little bit of offensive line talent. But now you have Daniel Jones, who I don't think is the worst quarterback in the world. People give him a lot of hate for how he plays, but I think they overpaid him, but I don't think he's the worst quarterback, and I think he could be their quarterback for a couple of years. but they don't have a running back. They don't have wide receivers. They don't have anything. They don't have anybody who's produced over a 1,000-yard season in any capacity outside of Darren Waller, but he's always injured, and he just doesn't seem to be the player that he used to.
I'll say, of course, building the trenches back up for them, that's where you got to start in your football team. Pairing him alongside Dexter Lawrence, I think, is great, obviously, for them.
But what's it a need?
Hey, look, man, they have a lot of holes to fill. So I think if you start up front on both sides of the ball, it's a great move for them. Because look, obviously they're probably going to be one of the teams in the market for a quarterback in this draft. So why not build up your line and make it better, and then you can start building for the future with your new quarterback.
But you lose Xavier
Let
McKinney.
me get in on this. I'm going to give it a 6 out of 10 because I think he was a good player on a lousy team. The Giants are a lousy team right now, so it could make them better, but they need a lot more pieces. And I think, they gave him money. I think it could have been used elsewhere. Maybe it works, maybe it doesn't. I'm just kind of iffy on it, so I'm not sure about him. Can't give him above a 6, at least not right now.
Yeah, that's fair.
Man, no love for Brian Burns.
I mean, it's not the Brian Burns. I think it's just the Giants organization.
I think it was a great move for them. I think
it was a bargain.
I think you guys are underselling it a lot.
I don't know.
A 2nd and a 5th is a good deal.
I think like a 7 out of 10.
Okay, that's been
all right, so moving on from Brian Burns, Derrick Henry to the Ravens. That was a move that we heard a lot during the season because a lot of speculation of Henry moving. How do we feel about that? Ravens finally getting an elite running back.
I like it. I don't love it because I don't think it was. I don't think it's going to mean that much to him anymore. So I gave it like an 8.7, 8.8 out of 10, like a B plus. Only because you lose Patrick Queen. I think that was probably something more important to keep. You weren't going to keep him, but you lose a little bit of that defense, and you obviously have Lamar Jackson. I think it's important to note that he's not a big play back anymore. That's not something Derrick Henry can produce. He can't produce that at a high level. Mm-hmm. He's a good downhill back. He's a good thing because last season they weren't great running between the tackles. That's one thing that he's going to be able to help out with. Lamar obviously is not a quarterback that can run between the tackles, and I just like it.
I think you're right. I think it's a solid move. It's not the greatest thing in the world. Obviously, Derrick Henry a little bit past his prime, still finding those great plays here and there. So yeah, I would agree with the B, but I think more it's a great move for their depth because for some reason it seems like the Ravens just have the worst luck with their running back room in terms of their health. I mean, Keaton Mitchell looked like he was going to be a young star, injured. Justice Hill can never stay healthy. Poor J.K. Dobbins. This man, it seems like he's been injured for the last 3 seasons. Can't stay on the field. So I don't know what the Ravens locker room did to the football gods, but they clearly are just punishing them. So
it's not even their running backs. It's the whole organization. For the past 5 years, they've always been injured.
But new trainers maybe.
They need some new strength and conditioning coaches. But Derrick Henry, this is a solid move for them. So yeah, I'd also agree it's probably around a B minus.
Yeah, I was gonna say they got a decent deal for him, and Dobbins can't stay healthy, so it does make sense. But he's going to be like 30, so I don't think he's the same back we saw 4 years ago. But I mean, I think I'm okay with it. I think it's fine.
I think he'll probably put up like around 850, 900 yards.
I think he's exactly what they're looking for. He'll do his job.
The only thing I'm a little concerned about is because of how much Lamar loves to run the read option, trying to strip the ball away from his back. Derrick Henry's he's a large back. He's one of a few guys left of his generation. I don't know how well it might be a little clunky at first, but if they work it out in the offseason, I think it could be a deadly combination.
And also, when he was with the Titans, they never really ran read options all that often.
That's fair. It's going to be interesting to see how they work it out.
So, arguably the biggest free agent signing, Kirk Cousins to the Atlanta Falcons. He was the big domino, to fall for the quarterback market. A lot of speculation on if he would stay in Minnesota or not, but now he's in Atlanta. How do we feel about that?
I love it.
I don't know. I'm a little indifferent on it. I think it falls in a B minus because here's the thing: Kirk Cousins, a very solid quarterback, especially with Kevin O'Connell's coaching over the last couple seasons. I think he was on pace for like 5,000 yards last season before obviously tearing his Achilles. And now he goes to a team with a really young offense: Bijan Robinson, Drake London. They just added Darnell Mooney, and as well as maybe Kyle Pitts can finally get some targets, being freed from Arthur Smith, as well as their new head coach being part of that legendary Washington Redskins coaching culture, where they had Sean McVay, Mike McDaniel, Kyle Shanahan as well. So obviously they know Kirk, they know how he plays in Washington, so they're going to like that he's there, and they're going to be able to build with him as a veteran leader to hopefully lead this young offense up. And as long as they have a solid defense, they can compete for the NFC South.
No, I think they can absolutely compete for the NFC South. I gave it like around an A minus. I 9.3 out of 10. I like it a lot. I don't think they have as much talent as a team like the Minnesota Vikings does, obviously, because they have the best receiver in the league and a great young up-and-coming receiver. But they do have talent. There's no way to deny that the Atlanta Falcons do have talent. There's no way to deny that Kyle Pitts does have talent. He hasn't been used right, and maybe a little bit fault to his own. But Arthur Smith didn't use him right. I think there's talent. I think Drake London, as bad as he has seemed over the past couple of years, he hasn't lived up to the expectations that he did coming out of USC. But I think he's still a decent wide receiver that Kirk can use. They haven't had any quarterback play over the past years since Matt Ryan left the program. And even at the end of Matt Ryan's tenure, they haven't had wide receiver play or quarterback play.
Yeah, Desmond Ridder was not it.
Yeah, Desmond Ridder absolutely wasn't it. So that's why I really like Kirk. I don't think he's going to leave him to a Super Bowl. Kirk isn't a playoff performer.
No.
But he'll get him to the playoffs. Now they have to fix the defense.
He keeps doing that. So I think he's under the radar. He's a good guy to be your fantasy quarterback. He has 145 starts in his career, 1 playoff win to show for it. He is joining a good roster, like you guys mentioned, but I don't think he's proven that he can win big games over time. So
I highly disagree with that. I'm a little biased, obviously.
But I will say that he's never had a good defense. He's never had a good defense. Atlanta can give him that, so I'll give you that. But I don't know.
Jesse Bates gonna go crazy.
When they won the division and went 13-4, that defense was ranked 31st in the NFL, and everyone's blaming him because of the last play. That defense was just average. I know they beat the Giants, and I'm not saying they make a run, obviously, because Philly was the best team that year. But I feel like he definitely gets a lot of unnecessary hate. But that does come with playing the quarterback position.
Absolutely.
You're the leader. You're getting paid, so the expectations are high. And I agree. I wouldn't say it's as high as an A because he's older, coming off an Achilles injury, and a lot of guaranteed money. But this is what Atlanta wants. They want stability, and these coaches and new GM, they want to keep their job and they want to build the future. So I think it's definitely the move they should have made, and they made it.
I would say I'm with you, Carr, on that, because I thought for a long time, similar with Jenna, I wasn't super high on Kirk Cousins, but those last couple of years with Kevin O'Connell, it did show me something that I think he's got that winner in him. He just needs the right team around him, and I think the Falcons can deliver it this year with him.
He's earned it.
I'm not going to say he's winning the Super Bowl. I'll say that right now. I don't think he is.
But there was no other option.
But
there was no one else you were going to get in there.
That's true.
They should win the division.
This team has a lot of
100% should win the division.
They just got to get past Tampa.
I think the Saints still have a little bit.
I'm not even worried about Tampa right now. Not because Tampa's bad,
but
they've lost some guys.
I think they're the only team that's solid though. Because if you really look at New Orleans and Carolina,
and they still need defensive help.
We'll see with Carolina. I'm interested in them. But moving on from Big Kirko, Josh Jacobs to the Packers. Poor Aaron Jones was pack your bags and go, unfortunately, right when Jacobs was signed.
Yeah.
Green Bay thought they had the best running back duo for an hour.
I'm not that high on this move. I'm giving it like a C-. Personally, to me, Aaron Jones, you could argue and go back and forth on whether you think Aaron Jones or Josh Jacobs is better. But to me, I think the versatility of Aaron Jones is probably why he fit better with the Packers. I mean, Josh Jacobs, you could say he's probably a better pure running back. He was great for the Raiders when, especially, they've had a lot of pretty bad seasons recently. And Aaron Jones, I think they like that pass-catching ability. I mean, he seemed like, I think he was, aside from, who was it? Aaron Rodgers' boy, the tackle. Yeah, David Bakhtiari. Aside from Bakhtiari, I think Jones was one of the oldest guys on that offense. It seemed like, because they have a great young receiver, Dontavian Wicks, Jaden Reed, Romeo Doubs, Christian Watson, and Jordan Love with their young quarterback. So it's kind of sad to see him go. And honestly, that pass catching ability is going to be missed a lot. Because Josh Jacobs, he's an angry runner, but I don't know how viable he is as a pass catcher. So I'm not as high on this move.
This, to me, gets an out of 10. Who cares, really? I mean, Josh Jacobs wasn't great on the Raiders last year. I mean, he'd battled a little bit of injury. And the season he led the league in rushing wasn't the craziest thing of all time. He had a couple great games where he busted off large runs. But I don't think it changes much in their offense. Yeah. I think it kind of makes it worse. As he said, the passing ability of Aaron Jones is huge for them. And as much as they have a young receiving core, it's a very young receiving core. They're not experienced. They haven't done it. And then they haven't produced a whole lot in that receiving core. And having that veteran out of the backfield passing presence was important. And now they don't have it because Josh Jacobs can't catch a pass to save his life.
Yeah. I really don't have much to say about this deal. I like Josh Jacobs. I think he'll do well. I hope he'll do well. But I actually read that it's unlike most free agent deals where in this one, nothing's guaranteed. So money-wise.
Yeah, good.
A lot of incentive-based.
Yeah.
I think it's a solid move. Like you guys are saying, I don't think it's, an eye-popper for sure, but I think they wanted to go younger, and I would assume that Josh Jacobs will stay more healthy. I know Aaron Jones got a little banged up last year, but that last stretch of games he had was really impressive, so we'll see if Green Bay, might regret this or not. Yeah, he's the Cowboy killer.
And they give him $40 million.
I just think it's a little odd for their culture because it seemed like they were building a nice, young, unique team and having that one veteran presence aside from Bakhtiari, who I unfortunately think just also got cut as well recently. But I don't know. It's a shame. But the Packers, I think they still have a bright future. We'll see how it goes.
Yeah, no, it's definitely good to have that vet presence. But moving on from the report card, a lot of what ifs, a lot of dream scenarios, a lot of dreams in the NFL where we want players to play. So we all got a player, and we're gonna pick what destination we want to see them in. It might not be the best, but what do we want? So.
All right. I think no, actually, Jenna's up first. All right.
All right. I'm taking T. Higgins to Baltimore. I think this is good. I think he'll be a good complement to Zay Flowers. I think the Ravens are so close to, really competing, and I think he's going to help bring that aspect in. I don't know. I really like this idea. I don't know much about their cap space. I don't really know what's going on there, but this is a dream scenario. T. Higgins to Baltimore. What I got?
I think it's an interesting move because obviously you just think about the fact that Geno Stone, I believe, just left Baltimore to go to Cincinnati. So
yes,
now it'd be interesting to see if maybe they steal from the Bengals, and I think that'd be a hell of a signing for them.
I think there's a lot of players this year, specifically in free agency, going to division rivals. Jones to Minnesota, Stone. Yeah, it's Saquon Philly.
Yeah.
I love Saquon.
So
it's kind of fun though. It's bringing a lot of rivalry back into the NFL.
Oh, yeah.
making people actually want to believe in the rivalries and stuff.
There's been some bad blood this week.
Oh yeah,
I'm excited to get into that one too.
Broke my heart. Who's next?
All right.
Who do we got?
Come up,
Jake.
Here we go. Now, obviously, you might think a little bit of this, and I'm a homer, and I'm a dreamer, but a man can dream, and the heart wants what the heart wants. Let's bring him back to Philly, C.J. Gardner-Johnson. Now, look, I know it didn't end the greatest in Philadelphia. Obviously, there was a lot of turmoil. A lot of people were thinking that he was going to be the piece that was let go, and there's a little bit of flack on Twitter of fans and Gardner-Johnson going back and forth. But look, the Eagles secondary was atrocious this year. It was awful, and they need this man back. And if honestly, it's so hard to produce great safety play. I know it's not the most valuable position, but you need to be able to stop elite wide receivers, especially in today's league where it's all passing. And you got CeeDee Lamb on the Cowboys, you got Terry McLaurin and Jahan Dotson for the Commanders, and you got
a cardboard bag.
Yeah,
on the Giants.
Yeah. Isaiah Hodgins, a little bit of Darren Waller.
Jalen Hyatt's going to be him.
Yeah, but anyway, the point is, look. The heart wants what the heart wants. I don't know if it's possible, but it's a dream scenario. Bring him back. I think Vic Fangio, especially with his defensive prowess, could help C.J. Gardner-Johnson turn into an absolute stud. And, especially with the fact that they left on bad terms, we just need to clear up the bad blood. So that's my pick, C.J. Gardner-Johnson.
That's fair enough.
And you just got to clear up the bad blood.
Exactly.
His coverage numbers aren't fantastic, though. Let's be honest.
To be fair, though, he was the interception leader. For 1 year he was here, and he missed a few games. He missed a few games. He's a ball hawk. We need him.
Yeah.
We need.
I would love to have him. I believe it's Marina.
Agree.
So for me, and somebody already took my pick, which I'm not super happy about, but it's perfectly fine. I also picked T. Higgins.
Oh, okay.
But not to the team that everybody else thinks. I don't think anybody would see this coming. It's the Jacksonville Jaguars.
Okay.
Trevor Lawrence needs a big-time receiver. It's the one thing they haven't had when he was there, and he's performed well. I still think he's a top 10 quarterback in the league, but he needs that big play receiver. He needs someone that's a star that can put up 1,300, 1,400 yards in a season. And people don't think T. Higgins is that. I personally do. Now, the one thing is that Doug Peterson, and I have forsaken your name in the past. I wish we still had you in Philadelphia. I love you, Doug Peterson. But he doesn't go out and get big quarterbacks, or big wide receivers. And they haven't done that in Jacksonville. They didn't do that in Philly. I mean, Alshon Jeffrey was not a big-name receiver, and he performed well. But that's the one thing Trevor Lawrence needs. You see it with Josh Allen in Buffalo. You see it with what Patrick Mahomes did have. You see it with Justin Herbert. You see it with all these quarterbacks in the league. Jalen Hurts got a big quarterback and started playing exceptionally well, or a good wide receiver and started playing exceptionally well. That's the one thing Trevor Lawrence needs to take him to that next level.
Yeah.
T. Higgins, that situation reminds me a lot of Stephon Diggs when he was in Minnesota. Thielen at the time was a little bit better, but you move on, go to a new team.
Yeah, I think you're definitely right on that because T. Higgins, I think a lot of people probably underrate him a lot. But if you saw him in those games where Jamar was out not last year, but it was this year. He shined a lot. Like he showed that flash of a number one potential guy.
He's got sneaky speed. He's one of the biggest receivers there is. I mean, he's tall, he's lanky, which really helps. And he has great hands.
I don't think he'd have a lot of problems for either of you guys going from Joe Burrow to either Trevor Lawrence or Lamar Jackson. I think he would love that.
Trevor Lawrence, one of the most talented young quarterbacks in the league.
No,
I argue the most talented.
He was the prince who was promised.
Didn't he go to?
All right,
did he go to
so this is
Clemson?
my pick.
All right,
So
who
there
you
you
got?
go.
I'm
Carter?
also a little bit of a homer, but it's not from my team. It's someone from our team.
Oh, okay.
And that is Big Danielle Hunter. He has not been signed yet. Jonathan Greenard went right to the Minnesota Vikings, so bring in Danielle Hunter. Danielle Hunter is an elite pass rusher. He's a top 10 player at his position, and I would love to see him in Houston. I think he would totally transform that defense, and I think he could be a top 5 player with DeMeco Ryans as head coach. I absolutely love this fit, and I think it would be a match made in heaven, and this is my dream scenario. I would love it. I'd be buying a Houston Texans Danielle Hunter jersey immediately, and I don't know if it'll become a household name, but in Houston, everyone will know him.
Question for everybody: is Houston Texans now America's team?
Ooh.
I like him a lot.
I like him more than Dallas.
Yeah.
I'll tell you that.
No, honestly, I think that's a great pick there. I think you're right. DeMeco Ryans would definitely unlock Danielle. I mean, he's already an amazing player, but having him in his scheme, pairing him up with Will Anderson, oh man.
But the issue is that they've already done so much in free agency. They haven't lost anybody to free agency, and they've signed
Houston?
Yeah,
They
Houston.
lost Greenard and they lost
Oh, they did
Cashman.
lose Greenard. My bad.
But I
They
like the
have
Joe
signed-
Mixon
But they
acquisition.
signed.
They've signed a lot
signed
of
and
players.
re-signed so many players, and they still have cap space available.
But they still got C.J. Stroud on a rookie contract. They can still afford to do that. Push it down the road a little bit. I
Give
think
them
it's
a
a great
one-year
move.
deal.
True.
Yeah.
All right, so I know we all love Danielle Hunter, but we got to move on. We got to move on to free agency gone wrong. So not every free agent signing is perfect. It's not all good. They don't all work out. So, we're going to have a couple free agent signings that we picked in the past that did not quite work out.
All right.
Am I up first?
Free agency's worst work.
Yeah, you guys are going to like this one. Who do we got? Nick Foles to the Jags, 2019. Nick Foles was always good at playing like 4 or 5 games, right? That's why I think the Eagles won the Super Bowl. I think if Wentz got hurt earlier, I don't think they would have won the Super Bowl because Nick Foles can't win 16 games. Or, he just doesn't, he's not like that. But anyways, he signed a 4-year, $91 million deal. That's an insane amount of money, crazy amount. They wanted to see some more magic, but it didn't work. So he ended up doing nothing. He broke his collarbone, played 4 games, and they were all bad. So
He'll always have that 7 touchdown passing game, but in Jacksonville, that was one of the worst contracts ever in the world. To do nothing and then be traded to the Bears for like almost nothing. It was just a terrible signing.
Mm-hmm.
We still love
came back.
We still love you, Saint
I
Nick.
still love Nick.
We still love you, Saint Nick.
yeah.
Yeah.
He'll be forever loved in Philly.
Oh, yeah.
Not so much in Jacksonville.
He has a statue.
Not so much. No.
He got the bag, though.
He did.
Absolutely.
He
You can't
definitely
hate him
got
for
the
that.
bag.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
It's like a franchise record, $50 million,
Go
like
get that
guaranteed.
bag.
Crazy.
All right. Oh, okay. So now we're moving on to my signing.
To trade.
We're going, so technically it's a little bit free agency in the second part, but Antonio Brown, for everybody who doesn't know Mr. CTESPN himself on Twitter, for me, this is a great story. Antonio Brown, obviously, it wasn't working out in Steeler Nation, so he requested a trade. He was angry with Big Ben. So he goes to the Raiders for, I think, a 3rd and a 5th, which at the time, it seems like the Steelers were getting ripped off. But, because of all his issues off the field, they needed to get rid of him, get him off the team. And so the Raiders opened up their wallets and paid the man. And then he showed up to training camp in a hot air balloon. And then he used cryotherapy wrong and he couldn't practice. And then he wanted to retire because he couldn't wear the helmet that he wanted to wear.
Yeah.
And all this led to Mike Mayock fining him, and then he posted that on his Instagram story, and then he leaked a private phone call with John Gruden at the time, and then he celebrated by saying he was free off of the Raiders and gone, and all for that to go to New England at the time with Tom Brady, and we thought, oh no, we're getting another Tom Brady to Randy Moss situation with AB, which at the time he was a stud. All for them to play 1 game and then have allegations, which we're not going to say, but, off the field, and which he was cut and suspended from the league. And it's just, the money isn't really the issue because he got the money voided because he didn't even play because he was such a nuisance. But it's just like, what was he thinking?
Yeah.
He was he's a nightmare scenario.
Yeah.
But I still miss the days on the Steelers.
No,
It's
unbelievable.
fun
But
to
it's just
watch.
it's so sad because it's like I don't think he would be obviously wouldn't be the best receiver in the world, but he could still play. Like he'd still be a solid option.
Yeah.
He in that 1 game in New England. He had
and
2
then
touchdowns.
after going to
Yeah.
Tampa Bay with Brady, he kept his
Super Bowl.
he kept his head together for
won a
a
Super Bowl.
year. He did win a Super Bowl, but then took his shirt off, threw his jersey, threw up the deuces, and then was gone.
This hurts the Canton chances, I think, a little bit.
No, he's not
at all.
No, he's no.
I can say it.
So this is a guy definitely not going to Canton. Mike Glennon, the nice Chicago Bears signing that they had, 3 years, $45 million. And this was terrible because he played a total of 4 games for them. 4.
Mr. Draft Neck.
And
New York Giants legend.
Listen, man, that neck is made of steel. He went 1-3 in that time and just didn't do much. It was just an absolute disaster. And we know the Bears' history of quarterbacks. It just never quite works out. I don't wish failure on anybody, and I don't want Caleb Williams to fail when he eventually goes there. But as someone in the division, wouldn't mind if it didn't work out.
The odds don't look good for him.
Isn't this when they signed him, and then that draft, they drafted Mr. Trubisky second?
At the time, I believe their coach didn't even know that they were going to plan on taking a quarterback.
If you take the Super Bowl out of the Bears organization, they're like bottom 3, in my opinion. No,
but you can't take the Super Bowl out.
Yeah, you can't take it out.
I'd
actually like to take one in personally.
They always have the 84 defense, but it's like, or 85. What is it?
85.
85 defense. I'm sorry, excuse me. Yeah, but it's pretty bad. Sorry, Mike Glennon.
Yeah, that's New York Giants legend Mike Glennon, but that is a bad signing for the situation.
Yeah.
Now, listen, mine isn't the worst signing of all year. It's just kind of petty on my part because people argue that he's the GOAT. He's one of them. First of all, he's not the GOAT of running backs. He's not.
Who is?
Barry Sanders.
I agree.
He was just the most talented running back of all time.
Good pull.
But he underproduced so much compared to what he did in Dallas. And 2003, $7.5 million is still a decent amount of money, and the Cardinals were terrible. He didn't produce. He didn't exceed over 1,200 yards in 2 seasons. He was injured for a couple of games. And it was just, he should have retired a Dallas Cowboy. And then he went to Arizona to think he was going to be the new franchise guy at a new place, and he wasn't, and it kind of tanked the organization for a lot of years. But then they got Larry Fitz, and it kind of all picked itself up.
This is obviously a terrible signing, but going forward, especially because the game, how much there's passing now, he always probably will have the record. 18,355 yards. The league's all about passing, and that's a long time to play. You're right. He was pretty much done at the end of his career on Arizona. He didn't do anything, but that record might stand the test of time.
Oh, it's absolutely going to stand the test of time. I don't think anyone's.
But to be fair, LeBron reached 40,000 points, so you never know.
Yeah.
You never know.
That's fair.
You never know.
We'll see. I actually like the pick.
You also have to have the best offensive line of all time to get that rushing record.
Yeah. You think the Minnesota Vikings for that terrible trade they made? So, moving on from free agency gone wrong. Surrounding news. So there's been a lot of news of free agency, not specifically just signings. There's been a lot of people having different opinions and some big names, getting into it online. So Tiki Barber and Saquon Barkley,
this guy,
they went at it on Twitter.
Yeah.
And Tiki Barber said to Saquon that you are dead to us, as in, I guess, the New York Giants nation.
It's ridiculous.
And they had quite the Twitter exchange.
Tiki Barber needs to shut up because he is the greatest running back that the Giants have ever had. But he was winning. He won a Super Bowl. Saquon's not going to win a Super Bowl. Tiki didn't.
He left
right?
the year
But
before.
they made a Super Bowl.
Yes.
With Tiki.
And he's definitely
he was
better
in a Super
that.
Bowl.
I would be.
So, but that's not going to happen with Saquon as a New York Giant. It's not.
Right.
It's not going to happen for the next 10 years. They're not going to make a Super Bowl. It's a bad franchise, bad ownership, bad GM, and they don't make the right moves. So why does Saquon have to stay? I'm not going to say the Eagles are going to win the Super Bowl next year. I personally don't even think so. I'm not too high on them. But at least they're in the win now mode. Outside of what the Giants aren't doing.
They have a competent offense.
They have a competent offense. They have a quarterback. They have an offensive line. They have talent on the outside, like the wide receivers. They have some defense. They are in the win now mode, and the Giants are not. So I don't blame Saquon for making this move.
No, I agree with you. Normally I would disagree, and I would say the same thing. If a player left my home team, went to a division rival, I'd be like, yeah, just get rid of this guy. I can't believe I'll burn his jersey, similarly with Ben Simmons leaving the Sixers, going to the Nets. But honestly, I think this is kind of petty by him because the Giants, they refused to pay Barkley over the last couple of years. He kept getting franchise tagged. They chose Daniel Jones over him. That should say it all right there. Honestly, he had no choice. It was either get tagged again or maybe take less money, but he wanted to go get that bag. He deserved it. He's worked hard. He's played consistently healthy pretty much over the last couple seasons, aside from the one ACL he had in 2021. But Tiki Barber, just lighten up, bro. Come on.
He's been there for 6 years.
Yeah, I don't know why he's getting involved at all. People forget that this is literally a job. So he's thinking about money, and also Philly's not too far from New York, so his life's not going to change drastically. He's probably going to move, but at the end of the day, he's staying on the East Coast. His other options were Chicago and
Baltimore.
Yeah.
Houston.
Houston. Yeah, it was Houston. So it makes sense why he's choosing Philly. I don't know why Tiki Barber's getting involved. He has no room to talk. They aren't even buddies, so it's just uncalled for. It's just a little too much.
Just big mouth.
Tiki Barber has always been a personality, but I also agree. Saquon Barkley, go get your money, especially. the position he plays in the NFL, we always hear a lot of flack on the running backs and how they get paid and how long they can stay in the league at an elite level. You got to go get your money at the end of the day.
You owe them nothing.
Yeah, it's a business.
No, yeah, for sure. Especially now, because it's like it seems like only the top level elite guys are getting money. And like obviously we just talked about like earlier Josh Jacobs and earlier probably Christian McCaffrey. He'll get his big contract as well. But it's like it's not a valuable position. So guys, go get paid. Like don't get screwed over by the organizations.
It's a business, but it's also a legacy.
Yeah, he finally
and
has a chance to win.
He's got to build upon, and it's not going to happen in New York.
Yep.
So Justin Fields, my favorite quarterback.
I'm so confused.
Love that guy. So the market for Justin Fields apparently isn't so hot right now. It's simmered down actually quite a bit, and Chicago still has Justin Fields. So it really feels like Denver is the only team searching for a quarterback. Where do we think Justin Fields goes, if he even goes?
He's running out of options, that's
It's
for
Denver.
sure.
Denver's the only option.
Personally, before I saw the Kirk Cousins deal, I thought he should have at least tried Atlanta, and Atlanta should have at least thought about it. Because here's the thing: it's like they still have the time to use the fifth-year option, and he's not getting paid that much money this year. And it's like they have a young offense as well. Why not take a chance on a young quarterback? Yes, he's not the guy they drafted, and he's not their legacy, but at least take a chance
Kirk's
on
safer.
No, that's fair, and I agree. But I'm saying, like, if you want at least a high upside try at something, why not give it a shot? And then if it doesn't work out, just move on. But aside from you said with Denver, the only other place I could maybe think about is, I know they just got Drew Lock, but maybe the Giants. You know, I mean, just to have some competition with Daniel Jones at all. I mean, like, just something to think about, but I don't know.
I urge you, Denver Broncos, do not try and get Justin Fields. You do not have the talent for him, and if you do not have a talent for a quarterback who is not that good, he's not going to be that good.
I mean, yeah, they just traded away Jerry Jeudy. I mean, it's like they really got nothing.
That Cortland Sutton still?
No, yeah, but he's injury history.
Yeah, injury history.
I'm not a fan of Justin Fields. Not as a person. He's a great guy. His quarterback play is just, it's not there.
It's lackluster.
And I wish him the best, obviously, but if you go look up his stats, they're not great. There's even some stats in the bottom, like 32 and below. There's only 32 starting quarterbacks in the NFL. So Justin Fields, good luck.
Yeah, they're going to get him. If the Broncos do get him, it's going to be cheap. So that's why I'm kind of like, why not just take him? But Russell Wilson couldn't, do well with how Sean Payton wanted to run his offense. So I think maybe Fields could help out in that way. But again, I'm not too high on him, like you said. So
If John Elway has anything to say about it, they won't be signing him, and I'll just leave it at that, and you can interpret it that in any way you think.
All right. That was
Great show.
fun.
Yeah, a lot of fun for free agency.
That was fun.
Yeah.
We got another great
that's
show
a good
tomorrow.
show tomorrow.
You guys got to tune in.
Yeah,
We
shout out Hannah, Ryan, Brianna, and
Kister.
Steven.
oh
Yeah.
yeah.
Definitely.
That's a fun show.
Definitely tune in.
they're
for
gonna be-
baseball.
I'll be tuning in.
Oh, yeah, they're going to bring you a hell of a show, and if you're not watching, then what the hell are you doing?